Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're doing something pretty cool. We're going to use an expanding lens to scan 5 critical updates from July 31st, 2026. What I mean is, we're going to start zoomed way in, looking at local state governance, and then we're going to gradually pull our focus all the way out until we're looking at global geopolitical security. I'm really glad you're here because honestly, it's exactly this kind of structured, multi-level analysis that helps us truly grasp how different tiers of current events end up shaping our world. Let's get right into it. So, here's our rapid-fire roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with Kerala's digital asset portal, move on to protecting the Western Ghats, dive into the economics of Indian sugarcane, look at the auctioning of presidential gifts, and wrap up with global security and missiles.
All right, Section 1, Kerala's digital asset portal, introducing Sampath. So Sampath, which, by the way, literally translates to wealth and assets, is this brand new centralized digital registry launched by the Kerala government. And we're not just talking about public land here. This thing tracks buildings, roads, even state machinery. It's a great example of how a state can take totally proactive steps to identify public assets that are just sitting idle and really modernize how they manage infrastructure. I mean, imagine trying to value or audit state property without a unified system. It'd be an absolute logistical nightmare, right?
This is honestly a massive shift. Kerala is moving away from these fragmented, vulnerable physical records, which obviously carried a pretty high risk of unauthorized land transfers, and they're stepping into a highly standardized digital ecosystem. The fundamental takeaway here is accountability. This new transparent system now makes it so much easier to do accurate asset valuation and streamlines auditing for both the internal audit units and the accountant general.
Now, zooming out from a single state's governance, it kind of naturally begs a broader regional question about shared ecosystems. When multiple states share a critical natural resource, how in the world do we balance the absolute necessity of ecological conservation with the development goals of individual states?
Which brings us to Section 2, Protecting the Western Ghats, the ESA draft notification.
Looking at this proposed breakdown of over 56,800 square kilometers across 6 states, a really clear picture emerges. Karnataka is bearing the absolute lion's share of the conservation responsibility here. We're talking over 20,000 square kilometers, followed closely by Maharashtra. You can probably imagine the neighborly friction this kind of uneven distribution causes. Placing land under an ecologically sensitive area, or ESA, actively restricts certain types of developmental and industrial activities to protect the region's incredible biodiversity. Naturally, that raises some serious concerns for the states bearing the heaviest restrictions.
So that takes us directly from regional ecology straight into the national economy. We have to ask ourselves, how exactly does the government step in to keep a massive, staple agricultural commodity stable for everyday consumers while still making sure the farmers actually get paid fairly?
Let's look at Section 3, Economics of Indian Sugarcane, Price Approvals and Stock Limits.
Okay, let's actually map out the bureaucratic flow of the Fair and Remunerative Price, or FRP, because this is what eventually determines what you and I pay for sugar at the store. It all kicks off with consultations and recommendations from the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Then it moves up the chain to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs for final approval. That approval ultimately sets the absolute legal minimum price that sugar mills are required to pay sugarcane farmers.
But you know, setting the price is really only half the battle. The other half? Fighting the urge to hoard. To prevent market manipulation, the government steps in with strict nationwide limits under the Essential Commodities Act. This is running from August 1st right through the end of November 2026. Dealers are currently locked into a strict 30-day holding limit, and they have to submit mandatory weekly inventory reports.
4,000. That is the exact quintal stock ceiling imposed on these dealers. Honestly, if you're preparing for any competitive exams, lock that highly testable, very specific number into your memory right now. 4,000.
And this number right here brings the whole thing back to your kitchen table. 49 rupees. That represents the recent average retail price of sugar per kilogram in India. All those complex bureaucratic steps, the whole FRP life cycle, those super strict stock limits we just talked about, they are all ultimately designed to keep this one specific number stable for households across the entire country.
All right, using this as a bit of a palate cleanser, let's pivot away from the heavy economics of agricultural commodities and look at this really fascinating intersection of national governance and culture. How exactly does the state transparently manage the incredible gifts given to the president?
Section 4, Auctioning Presidential Gifts, the e-Upahar portal.
This e-Upahar initiative is honestly brilliant because it serves a dual purpose.
First off, by hosting a public online auction for around 300 curated presidential gifts and memorabilia, it ensures complete open transparency in how state gifts are handled. And second, this is the best part. The funds generated from these historical collectibles don't just disappear into a void, they are channeled directly towards social welfare and national developmental causes. It is a fantastic real-world example of administrative transparency practically funding the public good.
Okay, for our final topic today, let's zoom our lens all the way out to the international stage. We need to ask how localized technological and manufacturing developments end up rippling out to create major global security concerns.
Let's get into Section 5, Global Security in Missiles, the proliferation of manpads. Let's decode that acronym real quick. MANPADS stands for Man-Portable Air Defense Systems. The big clue is right there in the name. These are highly mobile, shoulder-fired, short-range surface-to-air missiles. Using advanced infrared or multi-mode homing seekers, they are precision-engineered to target and destroy low-flying aircraft, helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicles. Basically, drones.
Looking strictly at reports from international observers, we're tracking the movement of specific weapon systems. The reports indicate that the QW-12 and FN-16 manpads, which were originally developed by China, have seen a reported transfer to Iran. And this is allegedly moving through a Hong Kong-based intermediary.
So what's the actual impact here? Well, it's highly significant on the global stage. International analysts point out that movements like this complicate an already deeply complex region. It raises immediate, pressing concerns over regional security in the Middle East. Beyond that, it highlights the ongoing broader risks of global missile proliferation, and it points directly to potential export control violations. The reality is, when highly mobile defense systems cross borders through intermediaries, it fundamentally shifts the security calculus for literally all nations involved.
Wow, okay, we've covered a ton of ground today. Our expanding lens took us from the digitization of local public assets down in Kerala to the Environmental Balancing Act of the Western Ghats, the economic levers of sugarcane pricing, the transparent auctioning of our national heritage, all the way out to global missile proliferation. As you think about how these interconnected layers of local, national, and global actions shape tomorrow, I want to leave you with one final thought. Out of everything we talked about, which of these 5 updates do you believe will leave the longest-lasting footprint on our history? Think about it. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, keep focused, and I will absolutely see you in the next explainer.